now.
No worries, I'm not going to repeat that. Right?
No, I've written down, I need to get your quote because that was lovely, Chris.
Excellent. Right, I am hoping very much that you can see my screen. Is that right? With the website.
Yes. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Fabulous. So I'll put this link in the chat so everyone can go in and have a little look. But this is what we launched in January. It's very much the sort of end of a very, very long piece of work that we did. Yeah, I think the project lasted 18 months. And the two main outcomes of it, I mean, there was lots of really good reports, fantastic, in-depth looks at technologies and, how they sort of sit along social, different social situations, etc. But the main crux of it is that we've published on the WREN website. It's also on the National Grid website, which are two pieces, one of which is a guide for communities, which I will just show you here. And this guide for communities really does take you through a whole host of fantastic ways to kind of not only look at how to frame the problem, but like understand the role of what a community can do, how to really kind of bring the community with you, making sure that you leave no one behind. Everyone knows that, it's not just the hard to treat houses, it's the hard to reach people. So how can you really kind of like engage on a basis where you will keep people engaged, and it's something you're doing with them rather than making them do or doing at them, for example. It talks a bit through different technologies and sort of like how to really kind of know what success looks like, as well as the various different business models. So we all work in community energy here, we all know what the challenge is, but this guide really has been written to help you guys, any community groups. Doesn't even necessarily need to be an energy focused one. It can be just a community group that has an interest in climate change or sustainability or resilience. In Cornwall, we've got a number of groups that have cropped up as a result of flood resilience, for example. These are, it's a really good tool just to explain, the process of community engagement and how to kind of get people on board with a bit of a mission. But obviously specifically, we're looking at how to help the community make that transition to a low carbon future. What do you need to know and understand about your community, and how to identify the most vulnerable members of the community and what help they need. So the guide really is there to sort of prompt local discussion amongst groups and key stakeholders in your community. It goes through, how to engage, remaining visible and positive, taking time to understand individuals' issues, exploring how to best link energy issues with wider issues. For example, we found that when we were doing the research, the link between health or poverty alleviation really sort of went hand in hand with the energy conversations. And it's all about, being honest, providing up-to-date and impartial advice. People need to be able to trust you as an organization in order to bring these things about. And it kind of says, put your hands up. It's impossible to know everything. Flag where you don't have the knowledge and that it needs to be filled by specialists. We were really lucky working alongside Exeter University and Planet A Solutions. we had those specialists on tap to help us design all of this, so that you guys don't need to have necessarily all of that depth of specialist knowledge. Use signposting. There's loads of fabulous organisations out there, Community Energy England being one of them, but there's just loads of support, and knowing what the best support is or where that best support can be accessed is really key. And be prepared to follow up, providing a helping hand to those that want to take action, and not leaving them when they've gone, yeah, okay, we're going to do it. And, oh, right, brilliant, tick, that's my job done, I'm going to walk away. Because what people need, the helping hand all the way through whatever choices they have made and out the other end, and then continuing. I'm sure you've all had your own sort of local stories of scary installers and cowboy builders, etc. So it's really important to keep those relationships established. And people are your best assets. Using local knowledge and experience in other areas such as planning, transport, business, tourism, urban design, landscape, nature-based solutions even, you know, you can really add depth to your group. So it's all about being bold, looking above and beyond, engaging beyond the usual suspects, those early adopters, climate activists, energy literate, you know, those are the people that they know what the problems are and they're already on the road to it. It's like seeking out how to support those that are in need most. And there's loads of great community tips about being educators, facilitators, action-led work, you know, all the way through whether it's retrofitting energy efficiency, you know, adding in various different low carbon technologies, or looking at community scale technologies, community battery storage, for example. And so it really kind of helps to go through there. But it comes alongside another piece. So as it says within the guide, you know, it's all very well kind of sort of going out there, but you need to have a plan. And the second part of the project really looked at how to create a tool that would engage people to understand, you know, the size and the length of their journey, and how to kind of monitor and measure and, you know, understand what success looks like, and knowing that you are on a journey and not everything's going to happen next year or the year after, but it's a series of events. And it's called the Net Zero Community Tool, which is this here. And I'm just going to run through a little demonstrator. And Lisa, I might use you as a guinea pig. I hope you don't mind.
Perfect.
So
you've got about 6 minutes, Chris, just to give you a heads up. Just
yeah, no
don't worry.
So this tool comes in 2 parts. It comes in one part, which is the community bit, where you set up your community. And don't worry, if I just click on here, there is a guide on how to use the tool step by step. So we lay it all out. It's all there. But the tool itself looks quite simple because, you know, we wanted people to be engaging with it rather than scared of it. And the first thing you do is set up your community. I am going to use my Wadebridge demo over here, which if I go into the edit, it has a whole load of information about your community. And this is really just setting up the model. So how many homes have you got? What's your population? What's your percentage of population with a car? And you can find all of these statistics out. So the guide that goes alongside this tells you exactly where to find the most up-to-date information. And I'm just running in. It then takes you through energy performance certificates. So what does the stock of your community housing look like? Broken down into different housing types, different energy performance related. And it's going to get stuck because it doesn't add up to 100%. And then it takes you through essentially setting up your model for your community. What do you want to try and achieve? Where do you want to go with your community? Are you looking to get to net zero by 2030? Are you looking to, you know, get to net zero by 2050? There's a whole host of information in there. And when you get to the end of sort of putting all those inputs and all of those ambitions in there, it will then send you some results. So for us, we were currently the average house, and it is average, so it takes all of that information and puts it as an average home in your community, is using about 3,410 kilograms of CO2. Now, this covers heating, power, and transport. It doesn't cover off any emissions to do with how many times people go on an aeroplane or anything that you cannot affect as part of your community. And this is what, you know, the model that we've set up here is, you know, we're trying to get to net zero by 2050, but as I said, you can change the goals as to what you want. The implementation steps that we've sort of prescribed at this stage for our community is, right, we're trying to get everyone onto solar, trying to get as you can see here, 2021 is all about improving the installation of homes. So we've got installation first, then solar, and electric vehicles, and then heat pump. I mean, it's a very kind of block, but it shows you what the difference is between different interventions happening at different times and in different sequences, and how that impacts on the sort of longer term carbon emissions and sort of the costs as well. and it will throw you out some really jazzy little graphs where you can really see kind of the impacts of like, okay, well, this is our space heating and hot water is taking up a huge amount of carbon, but then, you know, we've installed heat pumps and it drops right down, but, you know, as a result, the energy usage has gone up. So, you know, then we bring in solar, etc. So you can really kind of articulate and sort of see that story. And the great thing is you can then, once you've set up a community, you can then share that community with other people within your community. There's a little share button that allows you to share it with anyone. You can put it on social media, etc. And then you can go in as a household and create your own house. So I'm going to quickly do that with you, Lisa, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to, oh, here we go. I'm going to put you in the town of Wadebridge.
Lovely.
What's the main source of hot water or heating in your home?
Gas central heating.
Gas central heating. Lovely. How many people live in your home?
5.
5. And how would you describe your house?
A medium house.
Medium house. Lovely. Do you have an EPC rating, or would you know what that would be?
We do have one, but I don't know it.
Would you say you're on the slightly better energy efficiency or the slightly worse?
Probably slightly worse, unfortunately.
We'll go a D and below. How many cars do you have that aren't electric in your house?
1.
1. And do you know roughly what your daily mileage is in that car?
Not very much at all. Probably like, I don't know, 3 miles. We don't really use it in the week, so low.
Good stuff. And do you know anything that's coming up that might cause you to change your daily mileage? Are you?
No, apart from driving on holiday, but nothing that's going to continue. It's a no.
Okay, fabulous. Now we've got some technology options for you.
Yeah.
First question is, do you have any of these technology options? Do you have them installed already?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Right. Okay, that's not a problem. So we'll start at the bottom.
Yep.
Would you like to improve the insulation of your home?
I would, yes.
And when would you like to do it? In the next 5 years or 10 years? Or...
I think that would be the first thing that we would look at doing. We've already kind of talked about it. So within the next 5 years, definitely.
Fabulous. And would you like to replace your car with an electric car that you charge at home?
We would love to. My daughter's always asking us to do that, but just in terms of the financial implications of that, we're not able to do it at the moment. But yes, our eldest is always pushing for us to do that. So definitely sometime in the future.
Excellent. Do you think that might be in the next 10 years, 15 years, maybe?
Hopefully 10 years. I think that could be achievable.
No worries. And moving over to your heating, so you're on gas at the moment. Can you see yourself moving over to something more low carbon, like a heat pump?
I mean, again, would absolutely love to, just depending on the situation and if we could actually do it. Yes, again, probably within the next 10 years, 10 to 15 years, I would say, but would absolutely do it if it's an option for us, yeah.
It's generally when we find, it's when the boiler's going to go.
True.
How much legs have we got left in our boiler?
Well, probably, I don't know actually. Probably actually within 10 years. I don't think it'll last more than 10 years.
Oh, okay. I'll pop it down to 10 years. And PV panels. Is that something that you would have an ambition to have?
Yes, we have also talked about this when we next have work done on the roof. That would be something that we would look into, yeah. So probably within 5 years, I think.
5 years, okay.
Prefer to do it, yeah.
Cool. Right, so there we are. So we've got moderate improvements of home installation. You can also go higher. So moderate kind of is your standard loft insulation, wall installation. Higher is really when you're trying to push it almost to kind of like the A grade, not necessarily passive house standards, but that kind of more premium, higher levels of installation. Would you say that it's not always achievable in a lot of homes? That's the only caveat I would add to that one. So
yeah, sorry. So within the next 10 years, I would say then.
Okay, fab. And it's going to run a little model for you, and this will basically tell you. Oh, sorry. It's never worked with children, animals, or software systems, I find. It should work. It worked earlier. Oh no. I'll show you how it comes out. I will have to go and have a little look. It's always all right on the night, isn't it? So here we are. Let's have a look. There we are. No, it hasn't come up. I should go and talk to somebody about that. So this is essentially what you will get. Very similar to the same approach that you get from the community, but this tells you what your actual estimated is, along with the carbon emissions, and then obviously when you say you're going to do things and how that looks with regards to your energy usage and then your carbon usage. As you can see, it's coming, you know, it would come right down, followed by the cost. Now, the only thing I would caveat with cost is it doesn't include the installation cost, because obviously that is so variable depending on the property type. This is a reflection on your energy bill costs.
Brilliant.
Okay, so that was all I wanted to share with you guys today. Always happy to take questions at the end, but yeah, I hope you found that useful, and I really look forward to you guys having a go and having a play and sending us any feedback that you might have.
Thank you, Chris. That was lovely. I was just going to say, I mean, I'll ask a question. Is there a demo area for people to use, or is it just a case of getting on there and just setting up?
Just get it on. There's a space on there. Just you can model your town 100 times over if you want, and it just there is no wrong or right reason. It's just a space in which you can go and play and have a go and see what you get out.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's brilliant. I will share questions with you after Jake's presentation. Thank you. Bill, so if we can get our slides, thanks, Kim. So it's now over to Jake, who's going to be presenting the Local Intelligence Hub, which is a new digital platform that's been developed with mySociety and Green Alliance. So over to you, Jake. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. And it's really a pleasure to be here today. I'm Jake Woodier. I'm from the Climate Coalition. I work as a senior media and campaigns manager. And ever since the kind of turn of the year, I've also merged into kind of data innovation and tech, which is a bit beyond my usual wheelhouse. So I'm still kind of learning. And funnily enough, I'm actually having to use my phone for my audio today, which kind of feels a bit jarring with leading on like the tech offering that we're doing at the Climate Coalition. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. If you don't know who we are, the Climate Coalition is one of the biggest organisations in the UK working to tackle the nature and climate crises. We're over 130 organisations that comprise the coalition, and roughly that equates to 20 million plus supporters across all of those different organizations. So really it's about building this massive consensus for immediate, urgent and ambitious action on these crises that we're facing. And we come together throughout the year to undertake campaigns and develop tech like this, develop action tools, really to put pressure on politicians and create that political space for change to happen. And this is where hopefully we think that our local intelligence hub will play into that. So if you can move to the next slide, please. So I'll show everyone a demonstration of the tool pretty shortly, but a kind of short introduction to our hub, which is really a one-stop shop for finding data that can help us power up our campaigning, political advocacy, public engagement, and many other uses that I'm sure people will find out about in the coming months and years to come. And really what it was born out of was a recognition that there's a huge amount of data that is publicly available, open source data, that is spread across many different government websites, agency websites in different databases, whilst also privately held data that is held in our membership, our kind of organizations that comprise our coalition, our stakeholders, people across our sector and the movement, that at the moment, often it's held just in a folder or a drive, and the use of the data isn't really getting to see the light of the day and isn't being utilized to its full capability. So what we wanted to do was bring all of this data that we know about, find useful, into a really accessible and interactive space where it can be manipulated, it can be analyzed, and then smart, intelligent decision making can come out of it in our campaigns, advocacy, and public engagement. So we've been working with the really fantastic team at mySociety, who are kind of tech for good organization, alongside the political think tank Green Alliance. And over the course of the last 6 to 7 months, we've been developing the local intelligence hub. And that's gone through a whole bunch of stages of kind of early development, just creating an actual product, through to user testing, and then refining what the hub does, the types of data that we're sourcing, and utilizing all of the feedback that we're getting to move forward. And at the moment, one of the really key things is that our hub is currently a member-only access platform, but the entire intention of it, in the spirit of the open source data that we're collecting and is formulating a huge part of the data offering, in the latter part of this year, probably towards the end of the summer, moving into the autumn, we'll be looking to do a big rollout and launch of a publicly usable version of the tool. So if we could move on to the next slide. This is actually from when we launched, and there's not a great deal of interest on this slide to see, but I thought it was really interesting to kind of bring this up. And I think that it's really in the spirit of what this group is doing and this network alongside the Climate Coalition of, upon launching the hub, our co-directors of the Climate Coalition really wanted to express excitement about the movement generosity and the collaboration that has taken place to get to this point. And I think that everyone that works in coalitions knows that getting together and building something that we've all fed into and collaborated on for our collective purposes always seems to bring out the best. And hopefully this tool will be another example of that really fantastic collaborative working. So if we could go onto the next slide, I think this might actually be my cue to start sharing my screen. So I'll start demonstrating a few of these uses in a moment, but really the hub is it's kind of an interface for exploring and analyzing this data. And with my kind of newfound data tech role, I've been experimenting with doing phone screen capture to like do interesting bits of video, but we won't get into that now. I'll share my screen. So Kim, if you'd just be able to stop sharing, thank you. And this is where it actually just starts to get really, really exciting. So if anyone could just give me a shout that you can see my screen, that'd be amazing.
It's still just loading up, Jake, but it looks... It's not quite there yet, Jake. I don't know if you want to try it again.
It appears to have frozen up. So we'll come to this in a moment. But basically what we have really been trying to do, and I'll get to this as I start sharing it in a moment, is we've been collecting different sources of data. And I mentioned some of this earlier about the public nature of a bunch of the different types of data, but also we've commissioned some national polling that has then gone through MRP analysis. We have been looking at movement data to really start to try and share what we as a coalition and members store about like our supported data, the types of groups that we have in our network, that sort of thing. I believe you can see it now, is that correct?
That's right, yeah, thank you.
Wicked. So this is the homepage of our hub, and what you can really get into is either searching for a specific constituency. So I'm based in Brighton. So if I head on to Brighton Pavilion, you can see my constituency page, or you should be able to. You'll be able to see the constituency page, which is kind of a one-stop shop for all of the data for a specific place. So we have a whole bunch of information about the MP, their profile as an MP, so the types of groups that they're part of in Parliament, whether that's select committees or APPGs. We've started to collect data about the position they've had on relevant votes and amendments, as well as sectoral engagement they've had. So Caroline Lucas, as you can imagine, was a big advocate and supporter of signing an open letter that was from MPs about introducing net zero legislation. We then moved down into public opinion data. So these are some examples of data that has been commissioned, and you can see there's a whole bunch of different things, whether that's kind of public perception about voting for a particular candidate or MP based on tackling climate and protecting nature, all the way through to data and polling commissioned by Renewable UK about support for renewable energy projects, and opinion on different types of renewables, considering climate a high priority, etc. So you can see that there's this really rich data that's already coming to the fore here. And one of the things we are looking at is how we kind of grapple with having too much and overloading too much data in a place. But I'll keep on heading through, and some of the really exciting things that we're looking at are like creating this picture of a place. So what does the place look like in terms of demographics, age distribution, index of multiple deprivation? We're exploring some really interesting things about scraping data from popular petitions on the government website, so you can get an idea of what's a bit of a current of interest in a community, what are people taking action on digitally, alongside number of households in fuel poverty. This is where kind of some of the member-only piece will lie, as we have got more sensitive information here, as you can see, about the number of supporters of some of our organizations, different places and spaces. So thinking about the number of schools that are, for instance, within the Catholic Development Agencies network, alongside the number of events that took place at our flagship campaign, the Great Big Green Week, and Women's Institute groups. So that's kind of a bit of a whistle-stop tour of a constituency page. But then if we head back, this is where you can start looking at data that goes beyond just a constituency. So I've written out a couple of scenarios that I'll start exploring here. And this is where it starts to become very visual for the user. So if we think about all the different types of data that is available there, I can then use it to filter it on this tool. So if I think about potentially running campaigns in different constituencies with a bedrock group of organisers that are embedded within their community, are also likely to take action on climate. I know that the Women's Institute have got an extensive network of climate ambassadors. So I'm thinking about filtering by Women's Institute groups, and more than 5 of them in a constituency, alongside thinking about whether or not public opinion is that tackling climate change should be one of the government's biggest priorities right now. I know the national average is 57%. And then also thinking about support for renewable projects in the local area. And the national average for this is 87.5. Then what I can also do here is start shading by one of the filters. So if I go into renewable energy projects in the local area to shade by, I can update my map and I can see all of the different constituencies on a scale of support from low to high of renewable energy projects in the local area. And you can see here that I'm developing quite a spatial map that can really start to demonstrate where interest lies, who might be wanting to get involved or who could be targeted to get involved. And then you can just continuously update it. So having gone through this scenario, I know that actually in a lot of these constituencies, there's a high number of women's institute groups. So I can move that up to 15 in the constituency and it removes a few groups. If I do it again to 25, we have got much less amount of constituencies coming through in our criteria. So if, as an example, I wanted to export this, I can take it to a table view and you are then gladly presented with something that can just be imported directly into a data processor. And I can also just download it directly as a CSV so that this is seamless integration with other data processing programs you might use. I can also start adding columns to this as well, rather than having to use a filter system that deducts from a deductive filter system. I can start adding in other ones. So I might want to think about where can I get renewable energy support in my constituency or other constituencies around as a campaign focus to put pressure on prospective candidates for the next general election that are looking at a slim majority at the moment. So you can then start adding in things like MP election majority. So I can see that, you know, there's a few different ones, like South Cambridgeshire is a relatively marginal constituency, and it could be a site of interest for campaigning around local renewable energy projects. So that's kind of a bit of a tour of the hub and how it can be used. We are constantly looking for people to kind of support our project with more data, and that's definitely looking at how we can do that on a constituency level, also all the way through to kind of national data sets. So I think that kind of wraps up where we've got to for now. And if anyone wants to get in touch, my email that I check about this project is on the start of the slides that I had prepared.
Thank you, Jake. That was brilliant. It may be useful for you to pop your email in the chat box as well. If you get a chance to do that, that'd be lovely. And I will share it as part of the follow-up to the call as well. Thank you to both Jake and Chris. They were lovely presentations. Thank you for demoing everything. If you have got any questions, please do pop them in. I've got lots of comments for how wonderful these tools are to both of you, but I'm just going to get the questions up now. So bear with me. So Jake, how comprehensive is the list of groups in each area, and could the tool be used to identify common community groups in a given area?
Yeah, that's definitely a really great question, and this is a part of what we're looking to expand. Is at the moment the amount of community groups in constituencies is not very comprehensive at all, right? So it's basically from a starting point of the data from our membership that's shared at the moment. There are a few more data sets to kind of add in around like Friends of the Earth groups, for instance, but one of the things that we are missing is about community groups that are not part of like national networks. So Friends of the Earth, for example, you know, there's incredible networks of community associations, voluntary groups, etc. So what we're really looking to do as part of our next phase of development is mapping of constituency community groups. There's obviously overlap across different constituencies, but building this part of it out so that that kind of lookup function, in a sense, for campaign preparation, public engagement is much more cohesive and filled out.
Brilliant. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Chris or Jake? I mean, I imagine that the questions may come once people start going into the tools and start having a play around with them. I know WREN's tools are already linked on our how-to pages, and we'll get Jake's tool on there as well, and we'll share the links to both of the tools following the call. So if you do have any questions once you start to use the systems, then please do reach out to Chris and Jake. Sorry, I'm just getting a couple of questions. Sorry, someone's saying, apologies if this has already been stated, but is it possible to subscribe, or is that in the future? Aldous, is that in relation to Jake's tool or Chris's?
It is, sorry.
Oh, to Jake, sorry, I see to Jake, yeah.
Jake.
So this is something that I will pick up with Community Energy England as a member of the Climate Coalition about how access is kind of devolved out to members of coalitions. So I'll be in touch very shortly to talk about this, and we are moving towards this public launch that will be happening probably September, October time. So it won't be long until there's a public facing version that is slightly limited in the sense that there'll be a few different data sets that have been shared on an assumption and kind of basis of privacy, but the vast majority of what you've seen today, plus more that comes through the next development phase, will be included in the public version.
Thank you. And we will also be looking at how we can feed in the information onto our national map of community energy projects, which I think Duncan's popped the link in there for everybody. We've already shared our MP and community energy organisation data there as well. Thank you, Duncan. Well, if we've not got any more questions at the moment, we will move on, because I'm just aware of the time as well. Yeah, Kim, are you okay to move to the next slide? Thank you. I just wanted to also just quickly share and make you aware of our resources that are available to you as members. I've just mentioned our community energy projects national map. Please do get your projects on there. We have on average around 5,000 views a month. So we do 3 monthly data uploads. So if you haven't got your projects on there yet, please do sign up to it through our campaign link, which is on the website, and we will get your projects on the map. We've also got a new Community Energy Fortnight layer on there at the moment, which is showing you where all of the Community Energy Fortnight events are taking place. So please do check in as we're updating that on a weekly basis at the moment. We've got our funding database as well, which we update regularly. So please do have a look at the funding database with all kinds of information about the current available funding opportunities that are open to you at the moment. Next slide, please, Kim. We've also popped some useful links on this slide. I know it's quite difficult to get them off here, but we've got our events page and our friends events pages, community share offers. Please do send those through to us, and jobs and other news that you want us to share with the network. We're always happy to get them on the website and into our fortnightly newsletter. So do keep us posted on those developments. And again, please do look at the national map. It's a really useful and fantastic resource that we've put together. Next slide, Kim, and actually handing over to you, Kim, an update on Community Energy Fortnight, please.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so before we go, I just wanted to quickly mention Community Energy Fortnight. That starts in less than 3 weeks. So for those that are not aware, Community Energy Fortnight is a nationwide campaign, and it is a great opportunity to make our your organisations and our organisations' activities visible with the local community and show the rest of the sector and important stakeholders what community energy is all about. So this year's theme is focused around skill sharing within the sector to help us do even better. SEF will run from the 10th to the 23rd of June, and we encourage you to take part in any way you can. There are so many ways you can get involved. We are encouraging you to organise practical and useful events in order to share and draw on skills and knowledge. And we encourage you to invite your local MP to your events if you are organising them. You can download our how-to guides. There's a how to organise a Skillshare event guide to help you get started. If you can't organise your own event this year, there's always there's a real wide range of events and activities taking place during the fortnight. So if you're intrigued to find out what events we've got running, the Community Energy Fortnight activity calendar is now live, and a full list of events is on our website as well. So I will drop the link in the chat just so you've got it, or Lisa, if you could drop the link in there, that would be fab for the Community Energy Fortnight webpage. And there's also loads of other ways you can get involved, so including writing a blog for our website, which we can promote. You can share your community energy story with us, and we can talk about you and what you're doing during the fortnight. Or you can simply just support the campaign through your own social media channels and support other events that are going on during the fortnight. So please do take a look at our comms pack and for more information and a bit of inspiration. And yeah, so that I think that covers it really. But thank you.
Well, another thank you again to our speakers, and thank you everybody for attending. I hope that you found that a really useful call. The demos were excellent. I will be sharing the recording of the call on our YouTube channels and on Lumio. I'll also share any other resources from the call and our speaker notes. So thank you very much for attending. Like I mentioned at the beginning, please do feedback to us if you've got any topics that you'd like these calls to cover, or if you want any improvements or a different way of us doing things, please do let us know. We want to improve for you and to make sure that these calls are beneficial to all of you. So thank you ever so much, and I hope to see you at a future call soon. Have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Thanks, Jake. Kim, how do I stop recording?